anyway, let's get to it. I'll also have along the side of this presentation the guided notes that go along with this. So, phylum Chordata, class Aves. Class Aves is the group that contains all birds, which, by the way, is the first question. And this means that it includes both ostriches and hummingbirds all within the same group. Yeah, Aves. Aves are birds. Okay, so characteristics that all these birds, from ostriches to hummingbirds, share. Well, they have feathers, which are modified scales. They're endothermic, which means that they're warm-blooded. They have a skeleton that's modified for flight. Now, we're not going to get super crazy with what the forelimbs that support wings and the ribs with unique process mean in this video because, again, time is short. But the hollow bones part, yeah, the bones are lighter. Their bones are designed for flight. Some of them have more hollow bones than others, but yes, hollow bones. And reduced tail. So that reduced tail, unlike a lizard's tail, which is bony and muscly all to the very end, a reduced tail means it's feathery. It starts becoming feathers entirely right at the very beginning. So birds don't have the skeleton of their tail going all the way out like, lizards do. Okay, because lizards and birds are the most related. They diverged more recently than other things, and birds did. Another thing, fourth thing all birds share. Internal fertilization and a hard amniotic egg. So internal fertilization means that they don't lay the eggs and then get fertilized. They get fertilized and then lay the eggs. And all of the eggs are hard-shelled. So there's no soft-shelled bird eggs. They're all hard-shelled. And then lastly, the fifth thing that all birds share is that they have a beak and no teeth. No teeth on birds, even though they might have ridges on their beaks. Not teeth made out of different material. So those 5 things are kind of what go here for question 2. Hip hip huzzah. Okay, so groups of birds. This is still more taxonomy stuff. I know this is kind of like a review from the last lesson we had, but it was an important lesson, and everything's going to build off of it. So, biggest group of birds is the passeriforms or passeriformes, and they are songbirds, sparrows, all of that normal bird-looking stuff. Songbirds, perching birds. We'll get into some of the characteristics that make them passeriforms in a bit, but this means that out of all of the 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30-ish orders of birds, more than half of the species all belong to this group. And other than gulls, doves, parrots, hummingbirds, and woodpeckers, everything else falls into that other group. So that largest group of birds, question 3, is passeriforms. So, yeah. So, characteristics that define each group of birds. Well, I think feet shape is the most important. Beak shape's quickly following it, which, by the way, question 5 is what I think the most important things are for differentiating bird species. And there's a lot of different bird beaks and a lot of different bird feet. And this PowerPoint's going to go through a bunch of different bird feet and a bunch of different bird beaks. So, buckle yourself in. Yeah. Feathers, flying ability, and bone structure are also important, but we don't quite have time to talk about those, especially with this whole online dealio. So, a bird group that has really similar feet and beak across the board are the raptors. In fact, raptors are known for their 3 sharps, which is question 5. The 3 sharps that a raptor has are its sharp talons, its sharp beak, and its sharp eyesight. Well, I mean, the eyes aren't sharp. They have big eyes that can see things far away. There's an honorary murder bird that has small eyes. Vultures are generally considered raptors, even though their eyes are a bit smaller than falcon eyes and owl eyes and hawk eyes. But let's get more into the depths of what these sharps actually mean and what they actually do, especially the talons and the beaks. So, bird feet. First chunk of bird feet, going to be the raptor feet. Now, let's make me a little bit smaller so you can see that beautiful, beautiful vulture face. So, we have some eagle feet. It's a huge eagle talon. We have some falcon feet, which, do you see the size of that, even for a relatively small bird? And some owl feet, which may be fluffy on the outside, but very sharp. And vulture feet, which, again, super massive claws. Curved claws for stabbing and murdering. Imagine, like, hand, right? But knives. Like, yeah, that's how raptors do. So, question 6 has a picture of this foot and asks what group this bird foot belongs to. It's raptor feet. Yeah, raptor feet. Or eagle. Pretty much any of these have a foot that looks pretty much like that. Massive claws. So, it's the claws that actually do the killing for these birds. It's the claws that stab and murder. So very different feet are in the waterbird feet. So if you're a water bird, there's 2 ways to get around in an aquatic environment. You either swim or you stand. We'll Stand meaning wade because you're in water. So if you're going to stand in water, you have to have long legs and feet that won't sink into the mud. So water results in mud. And if you've ever tried to slug through mud, it sucks. It like makes all this suction and you just start sinking. It's bad. So these birds try to stand on top of it with their feet that are long and skinny. And they also have really long legs so that they keep their feathers drying out of the water. Yeah, so that's what those toes are spread apart so they don't sink in the mud or marshes, soft muddy pond bottoms, right? Long legs that are good for keeping feathers dry, stand in shallow water. Yay, reading. I put too much information on this slide. Swimming feet can come in multiple shapes and sizes as well. Let me make this a bit bigger. So, we have some grub feet, which are fantastic. I love them. They, instead of having webbed toes, have wide toes. And grebs are called podicipediformis, which literally means feet near their butt, because their feet are near their butt. Yeah. Pelicans also have webbed toes, but notice 1, 2, 3, 4 toes with a webbing between them. Ducks, 1, 2, 3 toes with no webbing on the last little thumb toe. And I'm going to show a little video of a duck grabbing the water and pushing it backwards. I'm also going to kind of show you how to change speed settings on YouTube because I want to show this slowed down. That was incorrect. To play the video, turn off the sound, set it to slow-mo. So yeah, they grab the water and push it back. Watch them go. Yeah. Cool. Also admire this baby flamingo. One last thing to note on this slide. So, pelicaniformis. Yes, there's pelicans and pelicaniformis, but there's also herons. These two birds with these two very, very different legs and feet are in the same order. They're both in pelicaniformis, and they both live in water, and they both have a similar diet. But they get around much, much differently. This one has the wading feet, this one has the swimming feet. So yes, bird feet. And that is question 7, where it talks about, it shows a picture of this foot and that foot, and one of them's a wading foot, one of them's a swimming foot. I'll give you that much of the answer, which is totally the answer, but you'll have to figure out which one is the wading foot. It's right there, it's in the PowerPoint. This is not a hard question. Okay, next bit of thing. These feet are pretty amazing as well. These are feet meant for walking. They are not meant for grabbing, and in such, you have tough pads of the foot, thick skin for protection, and you have rounded claws for scratching at the dirt, not for stabbing prey. You can see that in these various birds. So, note, this foot has 2 toes. Every single other bird species has 3 or 4 toes, except for the ostriches. Ostriches have 2. Even though ostriches and emus look really, really similar, their feet are incredibly different, but have the same job. Pretty neat. Emus and kiwis are closer related evolutionarily, but live in much different environments, but have really similar feet. Kiwis are also adorable. So yes, those are some bird feet that I love. And this is a picture of an ostrich foot because it's got 2 toes. Yeah. Okay, so next slide, next bit of feet. It's a bit complicated. I'm sorry. Again, too much information on a slide, but I couldn't not because there's so much going on with passerine feet. Well, actually, there's not. That's what I was trying to show. Because all passerine birds have the same general foot design. 3 toes in front, 1 toe in behind, and that's good for perching. So this is your standard passerine foot. And you see it in corvids, crows and jays. 1 toe in back, 3 in front. Cardinals, 1 toe in back, 3 toes in front. Shrike, 1 toe in back, 3 toes in front. Swallows, 1 toe in back, 3 toes in front. Really good for standing on little branches. There are other feetses, which next question talks about these 2 toes in front, 2 toes in back feetses, which are really good for hanging on vertical surfaces. I'm actually going to kind of show you something here. So this is a giant picture of a woodpecker that I just stole the foot from to show that 2 toes in front, 2 toes in back. And then this picture, I'm actually going to make the whole thing a bit bigger and present this, is of a parrot. And this foot is not broken. That is a perfectly healthy, happy parrot foot. And yes, they have the curvy claws, but they're not raptors because they're not raptors. Because of their feet mostly being 2 in front, 2 in back, different. Yes, but they have big curvy claws. Not broken. This is normal. Believe it or not, this is normal. This is how their feet look. So yeah. This shape of a foot belongs to either a woodpecker or a parrot. And passerines, there's 2 questions on the slide, by the way, all have that 3 toes in front, 1 toe in behind foot pattern. Okay, we're getting near the end here of the feetses. Well, we're done with the feetses and we're on with the beakses. So, raptor beaks. Raptor beaks are sharp. They are one of the 3 sharps, which, think to yourself, remember those 3 sharps? Remember what they are? Sharps. Okay, they have this curved, scythe-like beak for stabbing and then ripping apart their prey. All along the edge here is sharp. It's very sharp all along the edge here. So as soon as they bite something, like scissors, they cut it. And this is for tearing their prey up into bite-sized pieces. Their beaks, they don't grab their food with their beaks. They grab it with their feet and generally kill it with their feet. But then they eat it and rip it apart with their faces. So this beak here is good for biting things, for ripping things up into bite-sized chunks. So that's some raptor beaks. On to some water bird beaks. So there's a lot of different food in the water and many different ways to eat it. You can filter the water out and kind of get pieces of food in by stirring up the bottom of whatever you're eating from. For example, ducks and flamingos do this just in slightly different ways. Well, very different ways. Ducks do it underwater and flamingos do it upside down. That's why their beak is curved like it is, so they can dabble and stuff, like sift through the sand. Just like, pelicans kind of do a similar thing where they sift through their material, except they just take a big old gulp and they actually use their neck to kind of stretch out their beak. It's complicated. They're really really cool and weird beaks. Super stretchy, taking big bites. And pelicans and herons, again, both water birds, both very different. There is no pouch on a heron's bill, but similar head shape, similar neck shape, similar body shape. And teething baby is crying again, didn't quite make it. Oh well. These long pointy beaks are for snatching and picking out fish from the water. They are a precision tool for snatching quick moving objects. That and their necks help them. And a little I wonder bit is I wonder if the specialized beak resulted in specialized feeding habits or if specialized feeding habits resulted in specialized bird beaks. Honestly, maybe a bit of both. Go ahead and wonder about that yourself sometime, unless you're in a rush as well. Anyway, water birds. I chose a picture that didn't exactly match one of them, but I'm sure you can tell. Maybe you can't. This is a duck beak. This is a duckbill. And it's got those little ridges to sort of filter water through, just like this one does. Yeah. Okay. And it's good for filtering food through water. Well, filtering food out of water. Yes. Dabbling. Okay. Flightless bird beaks. Remember how only the ostriches had the 2 toes, but emus and kiwis had the 3 toes? Well, for beaks, ostrich and emu beaks look really similar for a really similar job, and kiwi beaks look incredibly different for an incredibly different job. So these 2 have the more similar feet, but these 2 have the more similar beaks, which is pretty neat. What these beaks are for is swallowing plants and things to crunch up the plant's whole. That's why kiwis, they have nostrils at the very, very tip of their very long beak. And this is kind of like a scent probe. They will forage around and stick their nose around everywhere and sniff and use it kind of hunt by smell, which is pretty fantastic. Which, by the way, is a question about kiwis. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, last bit of the slide. Passeriforms. Now, just like there were, well, exactly the opposite of passeriform feet, there are lots of passeriform beaks. So passeriforms had pretty much all the same feet, if you remember back, but they have very different beaks. So this is just one look at one genus of birds, just the finches, even though these are different species of finch. They're all one small group within the group of passeriforms. And we have tiny pointy beaks for eating, probing, like sticking in and snatching out things from cactuses and eating bugs. There are bills for grabbing and breaking apart insects. There are bills for eating insects and fruit, and there are bills for eating seeds and cracking seeds